Welcome to Bloomberg Power Players, the series that talks to some of the most influential figures in the world of sport about their rise, the success of their sport, and what the future holds. Mixed martial arts, also known as MMA, is one of the world's fastest growing sports. It's now alongside basketball, soccer, American football, baseball, and Formula One as one of the most watched sports on the planet. The man behind this astonishing growth is Chatri Sityodtong, the founder and CEO of Asia's largest global sports media property, One Championship. One has a staggering 13.8 billion video views across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. But this exponential success over the last decade, well, that comes with its own questions and controversies too. Today, Bloomberg's Haslinda Amin speaks to the man named as the most powerful businessman in the world of sporting entertainment and talks to him about his unique story in the latest episode of Bloomberg Power Players.
Chatri Sityodtong, welcome to Bloomberg Power Players. Here we are at the arena, all set for the big fight.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we are. This place always gives me the goosebumps and adrenaline rush.
You know, you got to say that MMA is in your blood, mixed martial arts. You started training when you were young. It took you off the streets. It got you off trouble, and it trained you to fight. 20, 30 years on, you are one of the most influential figures in MMA. Did you envision you would be here today?
No, definitely not. As a kid starting martial arts and still doing it for 38 years now, actually. I still train every day. Yeah, when I started Muay Thai, I never envisioned that this would become my life. Obviously, it was my greatest passion. The day one, it literally ignited something in my soul that I just loved. I guess it's the universe's way of, telling you what you should be doing. And so it just became this obsession. Passion became obsession, and over time it's like I had to figure out a way where I could showcase this for the whole world to see the true beauty of martial arts.
Why the obsession? Why the passion? It was an answer to your life at that time.
When I go back to my childhood, and I grew up in a well-to-do family, and my father used to take me to Lumpini Stadium, which is the mecca of Muay Thai, the absolute pinnacle. And we would go there, and I remember, thousands of fans cheering and chanting and screaming, and then the beautiful artistry of the athletes. It was magic. It was, yes, they had this massive power and fierceness, but there was also a beauty to it. And it wasn't until I was 13 that I started training in Muay Thai, because I trained at the Sityodtong gym, which was, at the time, the #1 camp. Actually, the whole world had the most number of world champions, and everyone was a monster and a beast in that gym. And here I was, a little kid trying to learn. But as I've trained now for so many years, I realized that martial arts is truly about unleashing your potential as a human being, because it forges in you a warrior spirit to conquer adversity in life. It forges in you these incredible values of integrity, humility, honor, respect, courage, discipline, compassion.
But the thing is, Chatri, you made the transition to mixed martial arts after 10 successful years on Wall Street. I mean, you made all the money you needed to make, you led a great life. Why did you make that leap of faith?
Long story cut short, when my father went bankrupt and eventually abandoned the family, and we were dirt poor, and I just thought at the time, with my mother and my younger brother, that if I could make as much money as possible, I could alleviate all the pain and suffering that my family was going through. I'd never seen my mom cry until that moment, and it broke my heart in a million pieces that she was so worried about her children's futures, but also had no food. Like, it was like week to week, and it was really bleak. And I remember the exact words my mom used was, "Chatri, this is wartime." As in, like, in war, there's just chaos and you just don't know up from down. And I naively thought, let me make a lot of money and I'll be happy. And so when I did succeed at Wall Street, I had my own $500 million hedge fund. I'd climbed to the top of the mountain, so to speak. And I remember I had a record-breaking year, and I went to the sushi restaurant nearby for lunch. And I sat there by myself. on this euphoria of the more money coming in and the things I could buy. But then I don't know, it just hit me that buying material things was actually was a way to fill a void in my heart. So I had achieved society's definition of success. But internally, I knew that I wasn't living my definition of success. And so I said, if I could just live a life where 24/7, I'm doing what I love with people I love. And I just started envisioning that. And at the same time, from a pure business perspective, sports properties are giant businesses. I don't think people realize NFL is worth $100 billion, NBA is worth $70 billion. Every region of the world has these giant sports properties. Europe has F1 or Champions League or EPL, even the Olympics around the world. Asia had nothing at the time, literally nothing on a global scale to unite the continent, but let alone showcase the greatest. And when I looked at it, I'm like, man, martial arts is a global phenomenon, whether it's movies and Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee or even Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And then again, millions of parents all over the world send their kids to martial arts training.
So that's even more money to be made in mixed martial arts. No, to your point, you spent 10 years on Wall Street.
Yes.
Were there lessons
Almost 10
learned?
years. I think it was 8.5 or something. Yeah, around there, yeah.
Were there lessons learned that helped you become the CEO you are today?
Definitely. I mean, I obviously, invested in many, many companies around the world. I met with many CEOs and management teams who are actually friends of mine even to this day. I learned a lot. It was in many ways my training ground for creating a global property like One. I learned something, at the time I didn't know it, when I was in Stuttgart walking through the Porsche manufacturing facility, and it was sparkling clean, and the level of detail, of excellence, attention to detail in terms of production quality and every single, and I'd been to other car manufacturers' facilities, but this one I was blown away. So things like that, left an impression on me. And I took all that collective experience and applied it to my greatest passion in life, which is martial arts, and in building One. And so I have this obsession with excellence and detail orientation. That's why you have the production value you have, but also that's why you have the greatest world championship roster in the world of martial artists.
You're a risk taker, given what you've done before. What's the biggest risk you've taken as a CEO of One?
When I look back on the journey, I made many stupid mistakes and silly decisions. I didn't fully understand that we were a sports media property until a few years into the journey. I didn't understand that, hey, the broadcast is the juice. The broadcast is the core crown jewel. And I would always focus on the stadium, and I didn't understand. And I just would throw stadium events country to country. In the early days in, let's say, actually a great one is Dubai. No broadcast, but we threw an event in Dubai. So there's no understanding fully that you have to link the event, which is a powerful emotional experience for our fans and incredible. But you have to link it to an incredible broadcast around the world that resonates in the living room or in bars or wherever people are watching with their friends and family.
I want to touch on The Apprentice on Netflix, your reality show. 16 participants vying to work for you. What's the thinking behind that? Is it about marketing?
When we came up with The Apprentice, my corporate development team had given a few options in terms of which reality format might be interesting. And The Apprentice is the longest running reality series in history. At the same time, we want to introduce our brand and our ethos in a safe environment. Safe environment meaning that, there's a lot of big misconceptions of what a combat sports promotion is or should be, just because of the history of combat sports. It's always been about blood and guts and trash talk and all that. And so we wanted to present our brand in an authentic way.
Obviously, all these wannabe entrepreneurs are seeking advice all the time. For your own journey, for your own career, where do you seek advice?
A valuable lesson that my grandmaster taught me as a kid is that to unleash your greatness, you have to surround yourself with greatness. If you translate that, it just means we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I'm very lucky in that my friends, the people I spend time with, my family, genuinely are some of the most, of course I'm biased, some of the most extraordinary human beings on the planet, but at the same time give me support in such an incredible way that lifts me up and makes me want dream more and do more and be more in life. And I think that's very important. So if you are a starting if you're a new entrepreneur, you want to be in the right tribe and who will lift you up.
Coming up, Chatri Sityodtong talks about taking on the UFC and his global growth ambitions.
It's the most important deal in the history of the company.
Welcome back to Bloomberg Power Players. One championship, born in the digital age, and in a part of the world where mobile viewing was exploding. The company's success has been turning content and views into huge revenue opportunities, thanks largely to in-stream adverts and high-profile sponsorship. So what does Chatri Sityodtong make of such a rapid rise? Bloomberg's has Linda Armin found out.
One is 10 years young. In that time frame, you've become the largest multimedia sports platform in Asia.
Yes.
It's gone now to a valuation about $1 billion.
$1.4 billion, yeah.
$1.4 billion. The target is to get to 10. What is the strategy?
I would say near term, the target is to get to 5, and then midterm to get to 10, and long term, and again, I'm not predicting a particular year, but I think we can outgrow NFL, which is valued at $100 billion, just because of the scale that we're operating at, and also that martial arts is truly content that everyone appreciates all over the world. See, American football is only played in America and only appreciated in America, and yet NFL has created a $100 billion property in America, but it doesn't scale. Like, no one I know in Asia watches NFL or even knows how to play American football, will understand the rules. So the key is that I really believe our global scalability is because we have a very simple, easy to understand. It's like, it goes back to the era of the gladiators and the Roman Empire. It's like, people get it when you get the strongest men and women to compete against each other, and invariably, whether you know the rules or not, you know who won, who lost. And that's what makes this content so powerful.
You talk about scale. That means you need to get to the world. I mean, you're big in Asia, but you need to get big in the US. And you signed a deal with Amazon recently. How significant, how much of a game changer is that? And where do you go from there?
It's the most important deal in the history of the company, just because, many experts predict that Amazon is going to be the largest live sports broadcaster, not only in the US, but eventually in the world. Just because, Amazon is a $1 trillion company, massive cash on the balance sheet, but everything they do has just been a monster success because of their process and systems and people. And the way they're taking sports, I mean, they have obviously the NBA, they have Champions League, they have One, they have NFL, they have only the very best sports properties. I think they only have maybe 5 or 6 sports properties they've invested. And each one has been a home run. As an Asian property, if you think about it, the only Asian global sports property in history to be broadcast live in prime time on a regular basis on a major US broadcasters network. It's mind-boggling that we're here. It started out a little old Singapore, the little red dot. And here we have now American fans, the world's largest sports market, able to consume and enjoy our content on the largest platform possible in Amazon. It's just a wild, wild dream come true.
But it begs the question, how soon do you think you can upstage UFC?
Well, if you look at, Nielsen came out with an industry report on the global sports industry, the top 20 largest sports properties by viewership and engagement. And already we're above UFC. I think we were number 4, number 5 on TV, and UFC was number 8 or 9 on social and digital organic video views. We were also above UFC. I think UFC was 8, 9, and we were 2 or 3. I can't remember the exact numbers, but Nielsen came up with a comprehensive industry report on all the parameters that, how viewers engage and consume sports content. And of course, Tokyo Olympics was the number 1 on that list on TV. But interestingly, Tokyo Olympics was on the bottom of that list for digital and social, which makes sense because, millennial and Gen Z, if you're not engaging with them in a big, deep way on social and digital, you're just not going to be relevant in the future. And I think that's a big challenge for incumbent sports properties. So whether it's NFL or Major League Baseball or EPL, et cetera, or F1, their fan base is a lot older than, let's say, a One or a UFC. And I truly believe, look, the world's a global duopoly right now in terms of the combat sports. UFC owns a dominant share of the West. We own a dominant share of the East. And the world is big enough. I mean, look at every other industry, Apple or Samsung or GM or Toyota. There's always a global giant coming out of the East, and there's always a global giant coming out of the West. I think American fans are in for a real treat to see the greatest world championship martial arts on the planet live in their living rooms and at home.
You talk about millennials, you talk about Gen Z, but it's also about appealing to future generations. What's the strategy?
Millennials, they don't watch TV. Like, when I grew up with my parents, we watched TV in the morning, news for breakfast or dinner or whatever it is, but you had to make a conscious decision with linear TV to turn it on. Millennial and Gen Z today, in the morning they wake up, they look at their Facebook, they look at TikTok. That's the first thing. The first window of media consumption is now the phone. And our content just happens to resonate with millennials and Gen Z all over the world. If they're always on their phone, it's really the digital players that are going to win. And for us, America, is the world's largest sports market. The world's largest economy, roughly 20-25% of global GDP. So this is an important moment, a truly historic moment for us. If you look at the combat sports industry, that our product and our DNA speaks to everyone at home. And this is a very big differentiation. I want little kids all over the world to be watching their heroes and putting the posters up and saying, Mom, Dad, Angela Lee's my hero because I want to be a doctor because I see how hard she works for her dreams, or whatever it may be. And this is the meaning for me, the deeper meaning. And I always tell my team that, yes, our genre might be martial arts, but our platform is humanity. It's really about, elevating humanity, inspiring the world to dream more, do more, and be more in life. That's the ethos of one, and I believe that can scale far more than, the blood sport and trash talking and the hatred and the, religious insults and gender insults that, UFC has.
Still ahead, we discuss the controversies in and around the MMA cage and find out what Chatri Sityodtong is doing to attract female talent. Welcome back to Bloomberg Power Players. One championship has been celebrated for inclusivity and representation of fighters from diverse backgrounds and genders. But questions and controversies remain in and around the cage. Here's part 3 of the latest episode of Bloomberg Power Players with Chatri Sityodtong.
How do you nurture female talent?
Well, I believe we have the greatest female roster on the planet, pound for pound. If you look at the likes of Angela Lee or Stam Fairtex or Janet Todd or Jackie Buntan or any of the incredible Amber Kitchen, I could go on and on and on of all the different world champions we have on our platform. Anissa Mexen. It's really again about how you tell their stories and how you showcase their greatness. And I think this is a very fundamental thing. If grandparents can sit in the living room with a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old child watching one and listen to the story of Angela Lee overcoming tremendous gender odds in everything she's done, breaking records, listening to Stam Fairtex rise from poverty. I mean, really dirt street, living in, effectively, $1 a day is how Stam grew up. I know because of the way our heroes are and because of the way we tell our stories and the values we celebrate, that every family around the world can enjoy it with their kids and grandkids and parents. And that's very different, dramatically 180 degrees opposite from the UFC, where a hardcore fight fan can enjoy it, but you never bring your child, you would never want your child to put a poster of some of their heroes on the bedroom wall.
There's a sense that MMA athletes are paid better than UFC athletes. Is that a way of leveling the playing field for your athletes? Is that a way of ensuring that you get the best talents in your roster?
Yeah, no, for sure. Pound for pound, we pay the best in the world. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, I think that's why a lot of the UFC athletes came over. But, we just are very generous with our athletes, especially as a percentage of revenues. We really try to focus on providing them a platform and making sure that they can make money in and out of the arena, make sure that our fight versus, are the highest in the world. We just signed the hottest free agent in the last few years, Roberto Soldic from Europe, double KSW champion. Every major global organization bid for him, including UFC. But Roberto came with us for many reasons. Yes, we paid the highest, but he came because he said, actually one comment he said was, I went to UFC London and I went to one here, and I just see that all the athletes here are happy at one. And that made me feel really good because we try very hard. We try very hard because I have a lot of empathy and understanding, and I've walked in the shoes of our athletes, and I do so in training every day.
F1 made headlines back in 2018 when it banned grid goals. What are your thoughts on your ring goals? I mean, do you see that being phased out,
Yeah.
and what's the plan?
Yeah. So we haven't had ring girls since pre-COVID, so 2.5 years, and it's interesting. We have a mixed gender team to debate on this subject, and I can't rule out that we'll never reintroduce them, but we have had serious discussions, many lengthy discussions on if we do reintroduce the ring girls. We wouldn't call them ring girls. We would try to make them a real substantive part of the show with substantive roles and backgrounds and stories and values that can inspire the world, that are in line with our heroes. I think by far, we are the most female-friendly organization in the world when it comes to combat sports. And we do put females first. I mean, it's just, when I think about my own personal life, watching my mother, who was a homemaker, have her whole life destroyed because my father abandoned the family, and she had no resume or work experience or anything. She was left out in the cold, effectively. That left a deep imprint on me. So on a personal level, my two kind of life causes is poverty alleviation and gender inequality. These are the two things that are very personal to me.
If you could change one thing about your sport, what would that be?
I think we are doing it right now, making it wholesome, showcasing the best of humanity, making it about such that families all over the world with their kids and grandkids can watch it safely in the perspective of not a corruption of values or morals like other organizations do. One is the change that's needed in combat sports.
What is the biggest challenge for your sport in 2022 and for the future?
The biggest challenge, I think, is, for me, now we're at scale, other forms of entertainment. I know it sounds crazy, but when people are watching 10-second videos and 30-second videos as their main form of entertainment, it is hard for a sports property to say, hey, come watch our show for 4 hours. When people are, on TikTok for hours, but watching 10-second videos. So what you're seeing around the world, is both a pro and a con for us. Yes, we're viral around the world because we dominate social media and digital media, but at the same time, attention spans around the world are getting shorter and shorter, so you have to get more and more creative. And that's why you see some sports are starting to die because their content is just too long form. So I think now we're at scale, we're battling really other entertainment options on a Friday night.
Chatri Sityodtong, thank you so much for joining us on Bloomberg Power Players. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Haslinda, as always. Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Bloomberg Power Players. We'll be back with another influential figure from the world of sport next time around.